Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Hanley, and I'd like to welcome you all to the Candidate Forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters. We have been in existence for over 100 years, and we're a nonpartisan, activist, grassroots organization that believes voters play a critical role in our democracy. It supports neither party nor person, but strives to inform the voters as to issues and qualifications of candidates. We are a combined league with Walpole and Dedham. Our membership is open to all genders. We are very fortunate to have many of the candidates running for office in attendance with us today. Thank you, candidates, for your willingness to serve and give back to our community. Before we begin, I'd like to give a few shout-outs. I want to thank you also for attending today and supporting this event. A shout-out to Charlotte Lynch from the Westwood Media Center for covering today's forum, which will be rebroadcasted tomorrow. Like to recognize the League members who helped plan this event: Claire Gagowski, Pam Kane, Emmy Balo, Susan Dempsey, and Judy Barrington. And now, just a reminder, and I know you all know this, the election is on Tuesday, April 28th. Polls open at 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. And finally, I want to welcome back Martha Copey, who is our moderator. She's from the Lexington League of Women Voters. She's been with us before, and we're in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we just were reminded this is going to be broadcast live and will be rebroadcast. And today is Sunday, April 26th, so that if you're watching it on rebroadcast, you don't get confused. Also, would remind you to silence your phones if you haven't done so already. And now we'll start the program. We are fortunate to have 9 candidates participating in our forum today. Each candidate has an opportunity to provide opening statements for 2 minutes and closing statements of 1 minute. Questions will be asked, 3 to 5 questions with answers of 60 seconds or 1 minute for each one. And we do have a timekeeper. Would you please raise your hand so everybody sees where she is and see and she will be giving 30-second warnings and then when it's time to stop. If you have any questions you want to submit on cards, League members are circulating, so please do that right now. So let's go right to the thing you came for today. First, we will hear from James O'Sullivan, running for town moderator. Mr. O'Sullivan.
Thank you. My name is Jim O'Sullivan. I've been the town moderator since 2018. Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Okay, so you need the microphone. I'm sorry for standing, but I'm an attorney. I'm used to being in court, and I would never talk to a judge sitting down, so I'm not going to talk to you sitting down. You first elected me in 2018, and it's an honor and a privilege to serve, and I thank you. And I'm asking you to vote for me again on Tuesday for next year. I was elected last year for the town meeting next week, and if you re-elect me on Tuesday, I will run the town meeting next year. Town moderator has 4 roles. I run the town meeting and any special town meeting, that's the public role. I also appoint the members of the Finance and Warrant Commission, the Permanent Building Committee, and the Personnel Board. I do have at least 2 openings for next year on the FinCom, possibly a 3rd. I do have an opening on the PBC. This is the biggest crowd I've seen in the 10 years I've been doing this. This is great. It's great to see the public interest. So if you're interested in one of those appointments, please speak to me. I think government works best if we can see an angle from the other person's perspective. So all I ask is, you don't have to agree with me, but try to understand my perspective, and I'm going to try to do the same for you. I may not always agree with you, but I'm going to try to find out where you're coming from and try to understand what your position is. So I have nothing further to add, so I'm ready for questions.
Thank you. Okay, the first question. Would you highlight some of the town appointments that have already been made by you as town moderator? What remains unfilled? You've already answered that. And what is the process for residents to show interest? And what is your process for selection?
Okay. My email address is available on the town website. I'm looking for people who are open-minded. I will not appoint you if you're coming to blow up government. I think we have a great town in place. Sure, it could be improved, but if you've got an agenda coming in, I will not appoint you. But I'm looking for people who have an open mind, aren't afraid to ask a tough question, but also who are willing to listen. The toughest appointment is the Finance and Warrant Commission. That's a lot of work. I tell new members, and I see some former members here in the room, it's going to take you a year just to figure out what questions to ask. And then the second year to understand the answers to those questions. And by the time you've finished your third year, you really know what you're doing and you're ready to serve, I hope, a second term.
Very good. Thank you. What has been your most challenging aspect in your role as moderator?
Lately, it's finding people to be appointed. When I first ran, I was younger, my kids were still in school, I knew more people. It got worse with COVID, we stopped seeing people. It's harder to recruit and identify good people for particularly the Finance and Warrant Commission.
Thank you. And this is the last question before we go to your closing statement. Do you have any thoughts on how to improve participation in town meeting? And do you think electronic voting has worked well since its implementation?
I think electronic voting has worked well. We've had some issues. We had trouble last year at the annual town meeting, so we had to go to the voice vote. That's difficult. We're learning with the electronic voting. With the big meeting like the one we had in February, the manufacturers of the electronic voting devices tell us it takes about a minute and a half to tabulate all the votes, and we found it probably took about twice as long. So we have to be patient, make sure everybody's vote is calculated. But I think it does work well. There is a movement in other towns to have remote participation at open town meeting. I'm almost 70. That's probably the next moderator who's going to tackle that issue. I think it could happen. I'm just concerned about the integrity of town meeting and the integrity of voting.
Thank you. And now your closing statements.
Okay, I just would encourage people to get engaged in public process and to run for office. The first time I ran was in 2014, and I lost. But I found it to be a very rewarding experience. I enjoyed it. I probably enjoyed losing almost as much, not quite, almost as much as winning. It is a little more difficult now. People are tougher on you. You have to be thick-skinned. But if you have any interest at all, please consider running. And if you have any questions about town meeting process or procedure or running in particular, please don't be afraid to give me a call.
Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we will now hear from Philip Giordano, running for Planning Board. Mr. Giordano.
Good afternoon. This is quite the group. It's very impressive. I'll try to use a microphone also just to keep up. Good afternoon. I'm Philip Giordano, running for the Planning Board. I'm running for re-election. I've been on the Planning Board for 4 years. The Planning Board is that board in which development is considered for different parcels, construction, real estate developers making decisions. It's an incredibly difficult challenge. You have to balance a lot of competing interests because our job is to represent the residents of Westwood. But the residents of Westwood also have competing interests, which is trying to make sure that the fiscal integrity in these challenging times gets maintained. Commercial development helps our tax rate. It's one of those things that is important for us to be able to have a split tax rate in which the commercial parcels help support the residential community. We face some very strong challenges. Many of you have talked to me about the Everett Street project. There's one that's on the horizon at this point, which is Costco, that some of you may know about. It's actually not within Westwood, but it's going to be impacting probably very badly Westwood in terms of traffic. If you look at some of the hearings that we've had on the planning board, one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that the planning board listens. We take questions. We sometimes take questions for a long period of time, and our meetings have gone until midnight. And we're trying to gently try to adjust that a little bit. But in any event, we give people lots of opportunities, and that's going to be something. I'm the vice chair of the planning board, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you. First question. How do you, as a planning board member, balance residential growth with retaining community character and the environment?
Well, there's the $30 million or multi-million dollar question with Costco and other projects. Well, you have to look at a lot of different things. You have to balance a lot of interests. I'll use the Everett Street project as one of those examples on the balancing that we did, and I will be particularly using that as an example of where we are today. That Everett Street project, which you may have known was Mary Maid's buses used to park there, was a really challenging site. It was a brown site. It had hazardous waste. It was not producing tax revenue, and it was terrible. And one of the things that we need in this town is housing. And the fact that there was going to be a housing component, affordable housing component, and there was, I think it was 1,500 applications for just a very limited number of affordable units that were applied. But I will still stand here and say that that was a good project, and I'm proud of my vote there. However, on March 10th, the developer came back and wanted more parking spaces. And I encourage you to go back and look at the planning board discussion of the parking spaces, because I had a lot of questions with respect to the traffic study. I see my time is up.
Thank you. Next question. What role have you played on the planning board in regulating the environmental impacts of buildings? For example, emissions from heating and cooling, renewable energy, EV charging, and recycling accessibility in older or new construction.
One of the things that we've done that I also want to point out as an accomplishment of the planning board, and I'm one of 5. I think I give a great deal to the planning board. I contribute a lot, but I'm not the only one, and I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the efforts of all the others. There are new regulations that are going to be considered at town meeting this year. We will be talking about battery storage as a new bylaw. The battery storage bylaw is something new that is just trying to make sure that we have parcels within the town that are not going to be outside of what is the character of a particular neighborhood or something else. We make sure that we have applied sustainable principles in a variety of things, including the canopy at the high school and other issues. It's an important one. It's a balancing test because we need to make sure sustainability is continued in our town, but at the same time, it's balancing together with all the other competing interests. We have to deal with a lot to come to our decision, and we come to consensus virtually every time.
Thank you. This is the last question before we'll go to your closing statement. In 2015, Westwood Town Meeting adopted a stormwater management bylaw to ensure proper treatment and quantity of stormwater runoff into the stormwater systems. Do you believe the planning board can or should have a larger role in stormwater flooding and mitigation?
It is one of the important issues that the planning board does give a great deal of consideration, and I do believe that we have to make sure that there's a couple of things that are considered when any project comes in. We have to have a relatively streamlined and efficient process. We ask tough questions. I kind of am proud of the tough questions that I ask because I'm not always gentle with people that come in with applications, but I'm respectful. Stormwater is one of those issues that we have to be very cognizant of. We are consistent in terms of our questions, our review of the stormwater management plans and the applications that are put before us. I think it's an important issue that's going to be continued by the planning board, and I'm proud of our efforts up to this date.
Thank you. And now for your closing statement.
there's a lot going on in the town. I have an uncontested seat, but at the same time, I know there's a lot of issues going on. Transparency is important. I encourage everyone to recognize and use the planning board as a little bit of a example of how we can come together, because that was one of the things that I felt was important for my closing. We can have our disagreements, we can have unhappiness over a project that may be coming through, but at the end of the day, we should come together when there is a compromise. We may not always get the things that we like, we may not always agree with what Phil Giordano says or the chair says or any of the planning board members, but at the same time, understand that we are doing a job and we're doing our best. And I hope that I have your vote at the end of the day on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. Would the candidates for school committee please come and sit at the table? Anywhere you want. Kate,
Okay,
yeah, why don't you sit?
so who's where?
Glenn is there, Nicholas, and
Yes, me.
Thank you. There are two races going on at the same time. There is a race for the 3-year seats, and there are 2 seats, and there are 3 candidates for that seat. Matthew Donahue, Joanna French, and Nicholas Vidnovic. Did I say that right?
Vidnovic.
Vidnovic, thank you. There is also a 2-year seat, and there's only one candidate for that, Katie Willett. But we are going to ask all 4 of them the same questions, even though she is uncontested. We would like to hear from her, and I'm sure you would too. So with that, we will start with Matthew with your opening statement.
Great. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming, and thank you to the League of Voters. My name is Matthew Donahue. My family's been part of this community for 40 years. I'm a proud graduate of the Westwood school system, but I'm also here with a sense of perspective. 19 years ago today-ish, my dad stood here and he talked about how there are some challenges. Challenges at the middle school, challenges with the old buildings, and challenges within the special education department. These are hard, persistent problems to solve. I don't believe any single perspective can fix any of these issues immediately, but I believe in a fresh perspective and an open mind is exactly what we need to move forward. I'm not a career politician. I'm a technologist. In my daily job, I organize and understand compensation data and build it into an intelligence platform. More specifically in the areas of security, privacy, artificial intelligence, I help with the compensation team to be able to get them the funding and what they need to get that, to get what they need to help with their purchase for their most important things that they do in their organization, which is their people. I spend my days at the intersection of data, ethics, and human impact. I want to bring that same perspective and problem solving to the school committee, ensuring that our budget and our policies are there and as secure, efficient, and effective as they can be. My commitment to every learner is personal. I have 2 middle schoolers and a 2nd grader at the Martha Jones. I want to ensure that the excellence that I experienced here remains for them and for every family. I believe our current committee has done a great job ensuring that we have the right data points in the elementary and the middle school levels to address the growth and special needs. Now, we need to use this data proactively across the entire district. From our integrated preschool to our high school, we need to ensure that all graduates are ready for the future that is rapidly changing, providing them with the guidance to be well-rounded for whatever the path they follow. I'm running to be an independent voice that honors our history, but also asks the right questions and looking for the right solutions for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. Joanna French.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Joanna French. I want to first thank the League of Women Voters for hosting us today. I also want to thank Westwood Media for recording this and live streaming. It's important for the community to have a chance to engage in this conversation. I also want to thank all of you in the audience. This is the biggest crowd I've seen. I've been attending these for a few years, and I'm happy to see so many people engaged in our democracy in Westwood. So I moved to Westwood in 2018, and that came after a journey of trying to find the right education for our boys. We started in Westwood, we did a stint in Ohio, and ultimately we came back here very specifically for Westwood Public Schools. I have 2 sons. One's at Westwood High School. He's a junior. And I also have my son here, Danny. He's at sixth grader at Thurston. I'm really proud of the education they're receiving. They have had opportunities and talented teachers who have guided them in their educational journey. I was motivated to run because I saw firsthand, time and time again, a community that truly cares about one another, about their schools, and about each other, and about our children. I wanted to help protect and promote what was going well and right here in Westwood, and be able to guide where I thought we could improve. Professionally, I've worked at MIT Sloan for the last 18 years, and I've spent my entire career in higher education. I work as a senior director of communications, which means I get to tell the community, I get to tell business leaders, I get to tell alumni and prospective students all about the stories and the research that come out of MIT Sloan. I've served on the Westwood School Committee since 2023. During that time, I've helped shape our strategic plan. I've also served on the curriculum reviews for both world languages and performing arts curriculums. I helped restore student travel and engagement opportunities and service opportunities, service trips for our students. I've also onboarded the superintendent and assistant superintendent and other administrative leaders, helped open Pine Hill, and one of my favorite days was at the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, where I was able to bring 2 students into the State House to see firsthand how our state democracy works. When I put students at the center of every decision, I know I'm making the right choices for Westwood. It would be an honor to earn your vote on April 28th on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, remind me your name again?
Vidnovic, Nick Vidnovic.
Vidnovic.
Great.
Okay.
So, good afternoon. Thank you very much to all of you for being here in the audience. Thank you to Westwood Media Center for broadcasting this so that everyone can participate at home. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. It's really important for folks to get a sense of the positions held by the people who are seeking to be a part of town leadership. I'm running for a really simple reason. I believe that Westwood schools have tremendous potential. Generations of public servants have built something really special in this town, and we all are the beneficiaries of that. My goal is to be a steward of those investments into the next generation and to unlock further performance for our students going forward. Westwood has a lot of resources in its schools. We have exceptional teachers. We have an incredibly engaged community that really cares about education and makes tremendous investments toward that for our students. And we have remarkable kids. For 3 straight years, however, there's been challenges that have faced Westwood schools. Our budgets have been cut for teachers. We've been funded below level services for 3 straight years. And that was something that really motivated me to step forward and try to be a part of a solution. There's no easy solutions to that problem. We'll hear from the select board candidates later, and this is ultimately one pot of funding, but I believe firmly that by working together, we can achieve the best outcome for everyone in town, and that's my main motivation for running. I also feel very strongly that we need to be very focused around academic achievement for kids in our schools. Once again, since COVID, there have been notable gaps that have emerged relative to other peer districts in academic achievement, and particularly in the middle school level around math and science. I think this is an important thing for our students to recognize, and I want to be part of that solution. Ultimately, I'm running to protect what works. We have a fantastic school system, and I think we need to sustain many of the wonderful things that have been done over the last several years by the school committee and others who are involved in our schools. But I'm also running to listen, really listen to families, to teachers, and students. I want to make sure that every dollar invested in our schools is invested wisely, that every child is challenged, and that every family is heard. I would be honored to earn your vote on Tuesday, April 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Katie Willett. Katie?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. So we all had our candidate videos, and that had a lot of my background and my personal information about myself in there. So I hope you all had a chance to watch those. But joining the school committee seemed like the next natural step for me here in Westwood. I started volunteering with the town, doing the elections, working in town hall. You might see me from or recognize me from town meetings. I also would fundraise for my children's preschools. When my oldest joined kindergarten, I became a room parent and then became co-president of the Sheehan PTA. Volunteering is just something that I really love doing, and it's something that I really enjoy doing as well. I'm going to read this, I apologize. Along the way, I became someone that families ended up turning to, that they ended up looking for information about the schools and the town. And I really do value that and take it very seriously when they were looking for information about what was going on within our community. I often share a story about delivering the graduation yard signs that you see around our town here. I delivered them for seniors last year. When I received our list, it said Sheehan kids on the top. Other families or other people who were volunteering got Downey kids and I guess what it said Hanlon and the other elementary schools. And that was something that I share with incoming kindergarten families at kindergarten orientation night, because our elementary schools, what starts there is something very special. The sense of community is something that is very important to me. It's part of why I'm running. Over the past year, I've spent time listening to families across Westwood. One issue that continues to come up is the future building proposals, including the idea of a 5 through 8 middle school that's going to be proposed for New Thurston. For me, that raises important questions, especially from an elementary perspective. 5th grade is a pivotal year, and moving that into a middle school would be very detrimental, in my opinion, but we'll see where that takes place. But that is part of the reason why I'm also running as well. I'm running to represent the entire town. Oh, wow, okay.
You can finish your thought.
I'm running, obviously, to represent the entire town. I've been meeting with a lot of people from everywhere, and I really do appreciate getting to know everyone, and I really do appreciate everyone getting to know me, too. I know you've all seen me out there honking and everything. It's amazing. So I just want to let you know I'm going to lead with honesty, care, and really take this seriously and do the best job I can. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to the first question, and please hold your applause. We will rotate the order of speaking for the questions, and we'll start with Ms. French. What do you see as strengths in the Westwood Public Schools, and where do you see opportunities for improvement?
That's a great question. And I think our areas of great strength is, one, the community that supports our schools. Our academic excellence. We have seen growth in our academic achievement year over year from COVID and from COVID to now. We have seen a growth trajectory that is positive. I also see one of the great strengths is the way we communicate with our families. That was one of my goals when I came on to the committee, was to make sure that we were open and transparent in how we work with families. And so those are the things that I'm proud of. I think we've seen. We've also looked at the challenges that we have, and we've taken a very strategic approach to how to think about them and how to possibly solve them. So from the special education audit to the facilities planning and all of those, that gives us the data that we need in order to answer the questions and figure out where we go next. One of the challenges that I think we have ahead of us is One Thurston. I mean, totally, we have to address the needs of our buildings, and the most pressing need right now is Thurston. So we have to work together and collaboratively and transparently with the town to figure out what is both educationally an appropriate solution for our students, and also be respectful to our taxpayers who will help fund this project. The second thing is to dig in on the special education audit and make sure that we're implementing the recommendations appropriately.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Well, I'll start with the strengths, and I covered some of this in my intro, but Westwood has a lot to be proud of. Start with the teachers. They're the single greatest asset to our district, and I hear that consistently from families. Our teachers are dedicated, they're caring, and they go above and beyond every day. We also have a very dedicated community that funds our schools to a tremendous degree, and that's something that not every town can say, and we can say it. As far as areas for development, I think that there are a few, and I mentioned them also. I think that the budget for the last several years is something that I think needs to be addressed. We've cut teachers for 3 straight years. That's not something that I think can be sustainable. We need to address that. We also have seen, since the pandemic, there's been recovery, but we still need to continue to make sure that we get to where we should be relative to our peer districts on some of the academic performance. And the last thing that I want to be a part of the solution around is communication and transparency. As some of you know, I was part of the Portrait of a Graduate Committee, and when I did a survey of parents as part of that committee, only 21% said they felt like they were included in the communication and transparency associated with district programs. I know that the school committee has done a tremendous amount of outreach, and I don't think it's through any filings of anyone that's currently on the committee, but I do think there's an opportunity to do more, and I want to be part of that solution to make sure everyone feels their voices are heard in school committee discussions.
Thank you. Katie?
Well, obviously, I would echo what both of them have said in terms of the strengths of our school district. I do believe that our teachers are one of our greatest assets. The tenure of our teachers is something that cannot be said for many towns. I think that's something that's very true for us in Westwood. And then, in addition, our special education is second to none, in my opinion, as well. But we do have to implement the recommendations from the report, because it was eye-opening to see a lot of the things, especially at the elementary level, that stuck out to me. So I think that moving forward, if we can do those things, we can get, we can, make it look better, I guess.
Thank you. Matthew?
Great. Yeah, so I definitely think that from a support standpoint, or what we've done really well, I mean, like everyone said, I think our special education program here is fantastic. People come to the school system for that specifically. They might got turned down or had to get an attorney or anything like that, just to get the kind of support that we go out of our way to make sure that our kids have. Outside of that, I would say that there's also, I think, areas for improvement, like the Rebus report said. We could bring in some structure and support earlier on. We have different programs running, like the Haggerty Foundations, UDL at the middle school level, and then the DIBLs. I had to bring an acronyms sheet to help me with some of these because there's so many. But there's a lot of good programs out there that are going to help us to get the data that we can bring in to help us make better informed decisions.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought I hit 30. No, okay. I was like, she's got me. Yeah, the one thing that I did want to take a look at is some of the different, we call it contractor leak, where a lot of different services that we would have potentially had someone in-house learning here, they're going to contractors. And that's going to continue to be more expensive versus trying to hire people in-house and keeping them in, not losing that brain drain when the contractor eventually goes. So there are other opportunities outside of special ed that I want to look into to see what we can do to make it a better opportunity for us and save some money.
Thank you. We'll go to Nicholas for the for the next question. And this is a lengthy question, so if at any time you would like me to repeat a question, please let me know. Here's the question. Thurston Middle School is now on the school committee's list as the top priority for consideration for renovations and/or replacement. There are early discussions as to a possible new configuration for the school to service grades 4+5 as well as 6 to 8. What are your initial thoughts on the proposal, and what would be the process or steps you would undertake to make a final decision?
That's a great question. So I've been abreast, and as many of you probably are aware, there is this proposal to potentially consolidate middle school into the middle school, the 5th grade. And I haven't taken a final position on that particular issue, and that's for a few reasons. I think that I'd be skeptical of anybody that tells you that they know with certainty what the answer to that question is without having done the extensive community input and consensus seeking that is necessary there. However, what I would say ultimately is that we are going to be asking the town for a tremendous investment, and that needs to have the support of the entire town. As a parent of 3 kids that went from Hanlon to Pine Hill, I can tell you that there was a loss of the culture associated with Hanlon, and people really care deeply about their neighborhood schools. I think that I understand there's a lot of different competing factors that need to be balanced in this decision, and this is something I would be excited to be a part of on the committee. But I think that really the answer to this question needs to start with listening and gathering input from the entire town, not just one neighborhood or another.
Thank you. Katie?
Sorry, I'm not very good at this.
It's okay. Can I begin? Yes. Okay. All right, thank you. So I have personal feelings about 5 through 8 middle school, and I'm happy to share them. I have actually been very honest about my feelings about that. Because when I go into an elementary school and I see what the 5th graders do, it's amazing. You know, they take that ownership of being a leader, and I do believe that it's something that's very valuable to the kindergartners, to everyone else in the school. I feel like it's a time that they can shine, and I don't want them to lose that opportunity. I understand that the buildings and the financial implication of all this stuff is going to weigh very heavily on our town. And I do hope that when the time comes, everyone is involved in the decision-making process, not, like I said, not just the school committee, it has to be everybody. Once again, personally, I have my own feelings. It's going to be a group think, right? But, gosh, how do I say this? In a way that's not necessarily just saying this is my opinion. We'll have to learn and see what the data says, right? I know that that's what's happened in other towns. I know other towns have also gone back to their 6 through 8 middle school for when they had a 5 through 8 middle school. I know that And also, it would close the Sheehan if they did do a 5 through 8 middle school. And that's something that we just have to look into and see what it would impact our neighborhoods as well.
Thank you. Matthew?
I mean, honestly, like, I feel like I'm echoing a lot of people. I don't think we know what we don't know yet. And unless we have these conversations and we talk to people and have seen what other school districts that have made this change, understand what that might have done to their neighborhoods and their areas or their experience, I think it'd change. If my sons didn't get a chance to go through the 5th grade at Martha Jones, it'd be terrible. They're fantastic over there. And I feel like probably everyone would feel the same way, where you get so used to seeing the same group as they slowly make their progress to 5th grade. So I think any types of changes that definitely need to be strongly considered to make sure it's going to be the best situation for our kids.
Thank you. Joanna?
So we've looked at this very carefully, and I want to first start by saying that we don't have a project in front of us, and so therefore we certainly don't have a grade configuration or how programming will happen in those buildings, should a building even appear. So we have a lot of work to do before that, and the steps that we'll take is obviously including the community and not just the families. We will include the entire Westwood community. We'll engage with you actively to make sure you are a part of this process transparently and collaboratively, and we're coming to a solution that meets both our needs of our education, the education we do in those buildings, but also meets our town needs and our responsibilities to taxpayers. So I just want to be clear that there's not a project or a decision on grade configuration. We will take the time to go through a feasibility study, to hopefully partner with the MSBA so we get money back. From there, from the feasibility study and the project management process that we'll go through, we will have clear understandings of what our options really are. Now, the early work that we've done indicates that this might be an option, but we'll see where this journey takes us. And we will certainly use data, we'll use guidance from our educators, from our town leadership, from our district leadership, and especially from the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with, let's see, where am I at on my list here? Do we start with you, Katie? Are you the first one? Or were you first last time?
I was not first.
Then you are first this time. Okay. The question is, do you think that diversity, equity, and inclusivity, or DEI, initiatives should remain as an important focus for our students' education and in hiring practices? Does the school committee have a role in promoting DEI?
I do believe so, and I actually believe it should be DEIB. I think that's which is including belonging as well. I think it's encompassing for every student, educator, person within our community to feel that sense of belonging, regardless. I don't think diversity is necessarily the color of your skin or what community you come from. It could be what type of learner you are, right? So that's how our student body should be treated, right? They should be included and inclusive. And so I absolutely believe that that should be a part of the Westwood education. And within our hiring process as well, I do believe that the school committee should continue to consider that too. I know that we have a program in place already, and I believe that that should stay in place.
Thank you. Matthew?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. Do you think that diversity, equity, and inclusivity, or DEI, initiatives should remain as an important focus for our students' education and in hiring practices? Does the school committee have a role in promoting DEI?
I think it has a role in considering it. I think it has a role to make it so that everybody feels like they are in a comfortable place to learn and that the families feel like their kids are in a safe place. In terms of what they can enforce or not, I feel like that's kind of up to the curriculum, so folks can kind of figure out what they have there. But I think Westwood's done a good job of being transparent, so customers, so that so families can come in, understand what's on the curriculum, understand what kind of things they may or may not want their kids to be subject to or learn from. But I feel like there is some level of obligation for sure to make sure that every kid feels comfortable and safe to learn.
Thank you. Joanna?
Thank you. I think the common denominator of a public school is to make sure and to protect and serve all of our children, especially our most vulnerable children. And when we learn about and when we learn with and from one another, we can provide a deeper understanding about each other and about the world around us. Embracing our diversity is what makes us kinder, more compassionate, more tolerant. And so whether it's a multicultural event at a school or a pride celebration for the community, these are opportunities for students to see themselves, to see their families, and to understand each other's perspectives.
Thank you.
No, I'm not done. Sorry, I'm just thinking.
You paused. I thought you were done.
That's okay. This creates opportunities for critical thinking and for collaboration and conversations that help break through differences. Our role on the school committee has been clear. We've hired a dedicated HR director at the school level in order to make sure the teachers we're bringing in and the educators we're bringing in reflect our student population. We've also worked closely with our Director of Equity, Integration, and Community Partnerships to focus our education, on education equity. And we also have partnerships to focus our efforts to how to bring all of us together through collaboration and conversation in classrooms.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Sure. This is one of these issues that I think that there are big national political fights that distract from the concrete work that we do in Westwood schools that I think most everybody supports. So every child that goes into Westwood schools deserves to feel safe, to feel respected, to feel supported, and to feel included. And that doesn't require the same set of conversations for every kid. That needs to be adapted for all the kids that are part of our Westwood community. I think that the most important parts of that to me are a school committee that sets standards around anti-bullying enforcement, ensuring that staff have training to be supportive and inclusive of students with different backgrounds and different cultures, and then a culture at school buildings that says that every student belongs. There have been, as some of you know, some unfortunate incidents that have occurred within the schools, and I think that that speaks to the fact that we have not finished the work around DEI. I do believe that this is not an either-or proposition. We don't have to choose between being inclusive of students in the schools and having great academic achievement. I believe that we can do both and that we should.
Thank you. Let's see, the next question now, we'll start with Matthew. Civic education is now a requirement in middle and high school. How can Westwood showcase it more publicly?
Civic education? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think I probably need to do a little bit more research to see what other towns are doing, so I can provide better examples, but I'm not upset to say that I don't know how we could do this at this time, but it's not something that I couldn't figure out over a short period of time.
Thank you.
Great.
Joanna?
So civic education is, as a public servant, particularly important to me, but it's the education has long been part of our curriculum. And up until 2023, it was actually embedded in our history and social studies curriculum. And in 2023, the school committee, while I was on committee, we voted to actually separate it out as a unit for high school graduation requirements. So now our students have to take an independent unit on civic education in order to graduate. I'm proud of that because it gives them a deep dive and a focus during their curriculum time to hone their civic engagement opportunities. There's also a project that starts in 8th grade. It's called the Civic Action Project, where the students themselves have to take on a civic problem, whether it's a crosswalk or whether it's more lighting at the ball fields, is whatever whatever they think of, and then they have to go through the steps to actually solve that. So that's really teaching them to engage locally. I wouldn't wonder though if maybe there's extra credit for seniors who attend town meeting and be a part of that. Maybe we can make voter registration a part of our civics curriculum so that this requirement happens their senior year for most students. But it aligns with my values for local civic engagement and to be educated on how to engage with our democracy.
Thank you. Nicholas?
I think there's two parts of this. One is that there's a new MCAS standard around civics, and that's a new test that students are going to be asked to take across the state. And there's an academic component to understanding the history of Massachusetts, the history of America, this great democratic project that we're all participating in right now. And I think that that's something that we need to make sure that we pass along to students within the next generation. There's also an element of service. To me, a lot of civics comes down to how do you engage with your community? How do you give back? And when I was on the portrait of the graduate committee, engage locally and globally was one of the things that I think had among the most support of everyone in the room as something that was really an aspiration and a value that we wanted to see pushed forward to the graduates of Westwood Public Schools. So I think that several things have been brought up already that I think are good. I think one thing that I think could be interesting to explore is potentially some sort of a service requirement or a potential service suggestion for graduating seniors to think about what kind of a project could they do to help get back to town and set the stage for continued participation in civics going forward.
Thank you. Katie?
Can you just repeat the question? I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Civic education is now a requirement in middle and high school. How can Westwood showcase it more publicly?
Well, I mean, our high school has the benefit of hosting all of our elections, right? So that would be an amazing opportunity for our students to be able to take advantage of actually seeing public elections in person, right? Most of the elections take place during school hours too. Tuesday is going to be a great example of that. They have school. So if they would be able to actually have that as a part of their curriculum as well, why not, right? I think civic engagement is something, we're all up here, right? This is a part of civic engagement. I don't see any young people here. But that would be an amazing opportunity. Oh, wait, oh, yes, your son, yes. Yes. Kudos
Sorry,
to you.
Danny.
But, you know, what's really interesting is, you know, Massachusetts was the first school committee ever created. And I love the fact that we are able to say that, you know, we're the founders of America, right? You know, our students are going to be able to have that pride in themselves. And I think the fact that we have that as a part of our curriculum is something that they're going to be able to use when they move on through college, move on through life. They're going to have that in their back pocket. And if we can just continue to foster that love of a democracy for them, I mean, we're going to be able to do that for them.
Thank you. The next question now, we will be starting with Joanna. Numerous studies show that when students feel included and have a sense of belonging, they do better academically. What groups of students do you feel would benefit most from inclusion efforts, and how would you plan to assist in that effort?
So in Westwood, excellence and well-being aren't competing goals. They reinforce one each other, and students do best learning when they feel supported, challenged, and connected to one another. So our job is to set those conditions for both rigorous academics and strong instruction in systems that support the whole child. So the areas, you know, the communities that I would be remiss to, as a white woman, identify groups or communities specifically that may feel marginalized, but I think any of our traditionally marginalized communities in our school system need to be especially looked after. And that's why, you know, things like inclusive Westwood, things like diversity events at the schools, multicultural events, opportunities for these students to share and celebrate their differences is always going to be a benefit to not just those marginalized students in the marginalized communities, but to our entire community.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Sure. So, one community that I'm particularly passionate about as a father of two girls is reaching out to women. You know, something that I was really excited to take on this last year was being involved with the Math League program at Pine Hill, and I was really excited to see how many girls we had that signed up for the Math League and how engaged they were in that work. But not everyone participates in those kind of discussions or learns the same way. You know, sometimes you'll see the table of girls and then there's one boy and then the boy speaks up and, you know, shouts down over the girls. And I think that just, similar to a lot of the other conversations that we've had, requires an intentionality about making sure that girls and women's voices are heard. So that would be one area that I would certainly try to push and make sure, especially in math and science, that we're including. Beyond that, there are many communities within Westwood who need support. And as I said, I think it's impossible for students to, as was said in the question, to learn properly if they're not feeling belonging and included. And the efforts that have been made already by the school committee and that I would be supportive of continuing to ensure that that continues, I think are tremendously important to not only those students' well-being, but to the culture that we're ultimately hoping to establish as a whole at our schools.
Thank you. Katie?
So, a lot of our elementary schools have specialized education programs. And to make sure that those students do feel a sense of belonging, because a lot of the times those students aren't necessarily in their home elementary school. I think that's going to be an important focus for those children. And I would love to be able to make sure that a child who might go to Martha Jones because they're in a specific program for a certain special education need, who may be supposed to go to the Sheehan district, right? That they have that sense of belonging and feel a part of the community. And so I feel as though within their special education, that could be a good focus for us moving forward, making sure those children are really elevated and put a big focus on for them to make sure that they have the friendships and the bonds that our typical kids do have as well, because sometimes that gets not swept under the rug, but it gets pushed to the wayside sometimes. So,
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, I think this is a tough question because it makes perfect sense that if someone doesn't feel like they belong, that they're not going to do well. Like a part of them is missing, and how can you be well-rounded if you have a piece of you missing? So I think for me, it'd be hard to kind of assume what those groups may or may not be, but I think it's definitely up to us as the community to ask, whether it be the kids or their parents, to see if they can help us identify a population. And if we can identify it, let's see what other types of resources. Joanna mentioned a handful. Like, what would that be a good fit? Would something else be a good fit? But I don't want to say that I know necessarily one that's specifically, but I think that if we can open and find different things or different opportunities for those groups, we'd be better off.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Nicholas. What are your views on including LGBTQ students in the community and LGBTQ history in the curriculum?
Well, of course, including LGBT students in the community isn't a choice, right? We have LGBTQ students in our schools, and the question, I think, to me is really around how do we make sure that those students feel like they belong, feel like they're a part of the community, and feel like they can learn right alongside of every other student that comes to our schools. So I think that starts with a supportive school environment that focuses on bullying enforcement, making sure that no kid dreads going to school because they're worried about what might happen to them there. It revolves around creating a culture that says that every kid belongs, not just from the LGBTQ community, but of course including that one. And it starts with making sure that every student that walks into our schools ultimately feels safe and arrives ready to learn. As I said, this is not, to me, a national fight, and I don't think this is a situation where we need to choose between having an excellent academic environment and having an environment that is welcoming and inclusive to everybody. I'm very, very supportive of doing both of those things, and I would work very hard to try to make that happen as part of the school committee.
Thank you. Katie?
I mean, there are kids, and they belong, and they're here, and we're all here for them as well, and I believe we should support them as much as we support every child, because they are our children. So I don't even think it's a question, in my opinion. As long as they are supported in however they and their families feel like they need it, that is how I will support them as well. And we should absolutely provide them that support. In terms of education, it's also a part of our history. If we're not teaching a section of history, then we're failing our students by not providing them a full rounded history.
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing what a lot of people are saying up here, where I don't see, I mean, again, I don't experience it, but I hope it's not an issue that our kids or our staff or any folks are facing. This is part of our community. This is a public school system. If you do have a problem with it, then maybe you should go somewhere else. But it seems like it's perfectly fine for me. I think it definitely is important to make sure that's part of our curriculum, because it's part of our identity. So to make sure that everybody feels that they're welcome, that they can see themselves in the history and the curriculum that we teach is important, whether it's authors or history or whatever the topics may be. Representation is important.
Thank you. Susanna?
Joanna?
Joanne. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I changed your name.
That's fine. So I think we've talked about this through a few different questions, and I echo what my colleagues have said up here. I think representation does matter, as I said before, and that means a child should be able to pull books out of the school library that shows a family that might have two dads instead of a mom and a dad. They should be able to find nuggets in our history curriculum that talk about some of the significant events in the LGBT community. It's not a separate unit. It's not a separate thing. This should be infused and included throughout our curriculum, and I think we do a good job of that. One thing I'm particularly proud of is most recently, Westwood Public Schools launched the Coalition for Combating Hate Speech. I'm on the steering committee for that initiative, and what we hope to do is address and dismantle the underlying culture that allows identity-based hate speech and bias to persist in Westwood. So I'll be excited to see where we go as a group as a community with that. That is not just schools and families, it's actually open to the community, and we're working with our faith-based partners in the community to partner and figure out how we can make sure we're addressing these issues in our community.
Thank you.
Prevent them.
And with that, we're going to end the question part of the program, and we will now go to the closing statements in reverse order of the opening statements. So we'll start with Katie for your closing statement.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do this project moving forward too. This is exciting for me. And I honestly couldn't be doing this alone. I have not been doing this alone. So I just wanted to actually say thank you to some people, because I don't think I'll ever get this opportunity to do that again. And it's not a victory speech by any means, because I know that I'm in an uncontested race, but I'm not taking that for granted by any means. I just want to thank my family and my friends and the people who have been supporting me to do this. I want to thank the school committee members who have taken the time out of their days to provide me information and help me out doing this. To the Sheehan staff and teachers, I always cry after having kids. Because I'm walking into the school now with wearing 3 hats. I'm a parent, I'm a PTA president, and now running for school committee. And they've been supporting me in so much time. So, I just want to thank everyone who's been supporting me, and for all the community members who've gotten to know me, thank you so much. It really has meant a lot. So, and then Melinda Garfield, can't do this without her. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Nicholas.
Great. Well, thank you to everyone who's been a part of this session, and thank you to my fellow candidates for stepping up. As we talked about, civics and public service is one of the most important things you can do, so thank you all for being part of this. Westwood schools have a proud history, and we have generations of dedicated parents and dedicated public servants, teachers and administrators that have all made the schools what they are today. I'm running because I think we have an opportunity to take that foundation and build on it and achieve what the full potential of what our schools can be. To me, that boils down to 4 simple issues: funding our schools, raising the academic bar, delivering a new middle school project at a scope and a cost that residents can enthusiastically support, and listening to the input from parents, teachers, and students. I'm not a politician. I'm a parent, a business owner, and I believe in setting clear goals, measuring progress, and holding leadership accountable. That's what I do every day for a living. And if you elect me to the Westwood School Committee, that's what I commit to do for the next 3 years for the Westwood Schools. Election day is April the 28th. I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna?
Thank you. Thank you again to the moderators and to everyone who has been a part of this and joined us today. Serving on the school committee for the past 3 years has reinforced for me why this work matters. I'm proud of the education and the opportunities that Westwood offers our students. My son Tim right now is in Central Europe. He's on a school-sponsored trip with our history faculty, learning about some of the most incredible historic moments through World War II sites and through other historical moments. And it's an incredible opportunity for him. It really shows that this is a powerful example of learning and global citizenship and engagement. Both as a parent and as a school committee member, I approach every issue asking one central question: what is in the best interest of our students? And that question guides every decision I make and every vote I take. Our schools are strong here in Westwood because we as a community value education. We care deeply about our students and our children. We actually also care about other kids' students, or other families' children as well. We expect careful, principled leadership. Right now, experience, continuity, and student-centered decision-making matter more than ever. I'm proud of this work, I'm clear-eyed about the challenges ahead, and I'm committed to continuing this work with care and with integrity. I'd be honored to earn your vote on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. And Matthew?
Great. I did want to say thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Wanted to say thanks, and we haven't gotten a chance to meet everybody, I think, at first, so it was kind of fun to finally get a chance to do that. It's pretty obvious this is definitely my first time I've done something like this, so for me it's been a great learning experience. I think some of my favorite parts were being able to talk to different folks in the communities, talk to some of my friends and their parents and some of their neighbors and things like that, just to know what's important to them and what we could do to make improvements in the school system from people that really care about it. So for me, I just hope that everybody shows up to vote. If I can get one, that's great too, but I think as long as we can get some numbers, it'd be exciting. So.
Thank you. And I think a round of applause for the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the candidates for Select Board please come up to the front table?
Thank you.
Where do you want us?
You're in the middle.
Good to see you, Mike.
Nice to see you too. Sandy? Front row.
sign of age, like fine wine.
Okay, thank you all very
To
much.
get that in, Jim. Did you hear that at home?
We have to wait for the timekeeper to take her position here. Okay, we have with us today now the candidates for Select Board. There is one candidate, Joseph Previtera, for the 3-year candidacy, and 2 candidates for the 1-year term, Aaron Sibley and Michael Walsh. We will start with Joseph and go in order and then keep reversing for the questions and the final comments. So Joseph, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Joseph Previtera. I'm currently a select board member. I'm running for re-election. I hope you'll vote for me. Let me just share a few special moments that I experienced as my first 3 years on the Westwood Select Board. Back in 2023, a number of residents came to me and asked me about helping them with an issue, which was yard waste, summertime yard waste. And I realized that most of these folks were senior citizens, not all of them, but most of them were senior citizens. And of course, I was happy to help them. It wasn't as easy as I thought, but we got there, and eventually we did get the yard waste restored that had been dropped 10 years before. I'd like to take a lot of credit for it, to be honest, but it was really Todd Korchin, our DPW director, who pulled the rabbit out of the hat. But I was happy we were able to restore that. Second thing I worked on had to do with the traffic signal in Islington. It was promised to the residents back in 2018. For some reason, there hadn't been much movement on it. I started to look at it. I was told that it slipped off someone's radar. I helped slip it back on the radar, and it's currently being worked on now and hopefully be up and running before the summertime's over. Third thing I worked on, which everyone will tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed, and Jim actually encouraged me to do this, is to go and knock on doors and meet the people, and I loved it. It was a great time. And one person said to me, "So you're going to lower my taxes?" I said, "I can't promise that, but I will reduce the spending." So the third item I want to mention is it came to my attention that we were spending approximately $60,000, thank you, Claire, $60,000 for this glossy flyer to go be mailed to people's homes. It's called Westwood Word. I studied it, it was redundant, and I didn't see the need for it, and we got to drop it. And the last thing I'll do quickly, Claire, is the fact that I want to push for an ambulance in Islington. We do not have an ambulance in Islington. It's a 10-minute run from High Street over to Canton Street. Very important to me, so I pushed for 2 additional firefighters. And hopefully at this year's town meeting, if we vote the budget, we'll get those 2 firefighters and have an ambulance stationed at the Islington Fire Station more often than not. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the other candidates and the residents who are participating today. Increasing participation and including more voices is very important to me. In-person, face-to-face conversation is also very important to me. Like many people, I'm disheartened by the lack of civility today, and this is not just a Westwood problem, but there is a Westwood solution. No doubt it's much easier and more comfortable to attack someone online than it is to sit down with them, but this is not constructive. I believe that respectful face-to-face conversation is not just the only way we will solve our problems, but it also strengthens and not weakens our connections to each other and our community. We might disagree, but we can certainly face each other. I have spent the last 8 to 10 weeks of this campaign living this truth. For convenience of voters and to be completely transparent, I did publicly post my positions on issues on my website and on social media. However, from there, I invited residents to personally connect with me. I held multiple in-person sessions in the library, thank you. I attended events at Fox Hill and the Senior Center, multiple FS1 community forums, FinCom, select board meetings. I met with the firefighters at FS2. I have spent so much time standing outside on Route 109 that I got a sunburn on my Irish skin. I've had so many residents' coffees, I can't count them, and I was treated to a walk along Canton Street and took a hike in Hale with its director. For those who couldn't meet with me, I had numerous phone conversations which were very productive. I want to thank every resident who made time to reach out with me and was willing to share with me their point of view and their ideas. Everyone's most valuable asset is their time, and I'm grateful to every resident who shared some of theirs with me, and I look forward to today's discussion.
Thank you. Michael.
Thank you. Of course, like everyone else, let me thank the League of Women Voters for having us here, and most importantly, for all of you that are giving up your Sunday afternoon. Just for the record, the Bruins are losing 4-0 at the end of the first period, and the second period just started. My name is Michael Walsh. I'm a 20-year resident who moved here with my wife, Linda, and our 3 children back in 2005. Our children, Marissa, Christopher, and Julie, all went to the Downey School and have all graduated from Westwood High School. Like so many Westwood families, we came here from the city of Boston for our great school system. My kids went to great schools after graduating from Westwood High School. They went to Bentley, Providence, and Elon University. Our youngest is finishing up her master's at Boston College. Our oldest is in a large downtown financial firm. And my son Christopher is a nurse in Brigham Women's Hospital up on the oncology floor. Great education from Westwood. We first moved here. We became involved right away with the University Ave project, attending numerous meetings to learn about the scope of the project, and I was planning on running for planning board back in the first year I moved to town. But a group of individuals asked me not to run and explained their reason why. I listened to them because I was new to town and I wanted what was right for the residents. Instead, I became involved in the Downey PTO. I became the PTO president at the Downey School, and then later to the president of WESC, which was the Westwood Elementary School Coalition. We raised money for all of the elementary schools before they all became their independent 501c3s. In 2014, I ran for select board and continued to serve until 2023. During that time, we successfully convinced the MBTA to fit the East Street Bridge. We built a new fire station 2. We built a new police station, and we did an Islington branch of the library, all within Proposition 2.5. The fact that we are built them all in the town budget, not requiring an override, was extremely important. Finally, as the select board liaison, I was able to negotiate a new Islington Center. We worked hard to get that done, and it was one of the hardest things that we've had to do. And we listened to the residents, and it's exactly as they requested.
Thank you. We'll now go to the first question, and we'll be starting with Aaron. What specific steps will you take to improve or enhance communication between the board and the community?
Thank you. That's a very good question. First of all, I think it's really important that the board communicate with other town boards. I already have very good relationships with members of the school committee and of the planning board, and I think it's really important that the town boards set the example by working with and not against each other. I also think we've had a lot of conversations about communication. Every single person in this room gets a tax bill in the mail 4 times a year. To me, I don't know why the town doesn't put an extra piece of paper in there that tells everybody what we're doing, what's been going on, and where you can get more information. So people who can then go to a website if they want to. You know that every person in Westwood gets their tax bill and everybody opens the envelope. So that's, to me, an easy, low-cost way to reach everybody at least 4 times a year.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you. You know, I'm a 38-year practicing attorney in the area of workers' comp and Social Security disability, and the number one way to find out how people feel is to ask them. It really is just to be approachable, to understand what's going on in their lives. I mean, I represent them, as I said, for workers' comp and Social Security. I have to be at some of people's most vulnerable points in their life. They've had a bad accident at work. They're unable to go back to work. Their families are a mess. And it's really getting down to being personable and approachable. And that's the way I always was in my 9 years on the select board. And in that 9 years, I met a lot of friends. I talked to a lot of people. Even though I haven't been in town hall now, in the position of a select board in 3 years, people still approach me. They tell me what they like and what they don't like that's going on in town. And I was not looking to run for this position, but was approached by so many people that this is the time we need you back. Can you please come back to town hall? So here I am today. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph?
Thank you. I think there are a number of ways. I think the select board has already made a change from our Zoom meetings to our hybrid meetings, and I think that's a huge step forward. So and I really enjoy seeing the people. We've also instituted, thanks to our new town administrator, some what I call coffee hours to meet informally with people. The select board members will be joining our town administrator as well as department heads to increase the communication. I'd also like to mention that I myself have made the effort to go and attend, thank you, Claire, committee meetings, even though I wasn't required to, just to see how things are going on in those committee meetings and what I can do to help them out as a select board member. That would be Youth and Family Services, Concom, Planning Board, and Rec Commission, a few that I've attended. That's what I would do.
Thank you. I believe the next question now, we will start with, I've got it right here. We'll start with Michael. What are your top 3 priorities in town, and how would you address them?
Well, as I started to say earlier, the top 3 would be Fire Station 1. Next would be the new middle school. Obviously, probably now 1 and 1A would be hiring a new police chief in town. And as late as yesterday, I find that now we have Costco. Those are all issues that are going to come in front of the town. I think Fire Station 1 is really important because, as we know, the School Buildings Authority, they put in an application, school committee, for a new middle school. Well, based on the application process from the last time I was on the select board, with the SBA, we need to get a fire station now because that's coming down the road. And as much as we don't like it, we have to really bite the bullet on this one, because if we build new schools and we don't have a fire department to take care of them, we're all in serious trouble. Fire station is number 1, middle school number 2, a new police chief, as I said, is 1A, and now protecting the neighbors over in the Everett Street area from the new Costco that's coming into Norwood is a big issue.
Thank you. Joseph?
My top 3 would be Fire Station 1, Fire Station 1, and Fire Station 1. That is my priority. It has to be our priority. It's a service that we have 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. The Select Board has made that front and center. But joking aside, I would also have to speak to our town's infrastructure. Unfortunately, our town really grew back in the 50s. Thank you. And now we have to do some work to maintain that infrastructure. So we have to really work on the infrastructure, as the school committee folks spoke about with the middle school, as well as the fire station, other buildings. And lastly, I would put down the police chief as my 3rd priority.
Aaron?
Thank you. I also would start with Fire Station 1. It's long overdue. It should have been done already. In my view, it should have been done with the influx of cash that we received, which allowed the police station and Fire Station 2 to be done without a tax override. We can't ring that bell again, and I'm not aware of another big development project that's going to pay for Fire Station 1. So we are going to have to fund that. I think we need to scale it down because we know that Thurston is coming. I think if I'm building a new house and my car dies, well, then I need to change my house plans to accommodate that I need a new car. So I think we need to balance those two, and we need to also tell residents what else is in the pipeline that they don't know about. I know people talking about changes to town hall. I know people are talking about a building at the DPW. I think that Westwood residents are entitled to get all that information at once and not deal with it one at a time.
Thank you. The next question we'll start with, let's see, who you have here? Michael.
I think it's Joe, but okay.
Joe, yeah, you're right. I just wrote Joe's name
think
down
it's
and
Mike.
called yours. I'm sorry. This question has to do about Fire Station 1, and as will be the next question, just to alert you. What lessons can be learned from the failure of passing funding for the Fire Station 1 project as it relates to the future of that and future projects?
That's a great question, and I'll take the hit. I have to honestly say, I personally dropped the ball. And I'm saying so because I was on the FS1 working group, the original working group. And when it failed the first time, we went to bat a second time. And if I dropped the ball by not communicating to people as well as I could have and should have, that the general contractor froze the price for 90 days. If I had one person, I had a dozen people tell me, I thought it was a sure thing, so I didn't vote. Thank you, Claire. So that is why the select board went and did it a second time. We weren't being pompous. We weren't being cavalier. We weren't being arrogant. We had a price that was frozen at $38 million to build a great station, and I would make the same decision again, but we should have advertised it better and shared our own feelings as to why we were doing it. We did not communicate that to the people.
Thank you. Aaron,
Could you repeat the question, please?
what lessons can be learned from the failure of passing funding for the Fire Station 1 project as it relates to the future of that and future projects?
Thank you. I think coming from the other side of that, I would say that, the second vote to a lot of residents read that the select board was not listening to people. And so that's actually was one of the entrees for me down this path. When I got involved with the issue of the land trust lawsuit, I also felt that the town was not listening to the residents. And I exhausted every avenue as a resident to be heard and to engage with our town officials, and was met with resistance at every turn, which is why we pursued the course of action that we did. I do think the lesson here is that the leadership of this town absolutely needs to engage with the community, and they need to listen to and receive the messages that are being sent.
Thank you. Michael?
So I was not on the select board when they made this decision on Fire Station 1. I was part of the original looking into where we should put it back in 2017. And we went through a rigorous, and I mean rigorous, look throughout the entire town to try to find the exact place that it should go. And we ended up back at Fire Station 1. We had consultants back then. We have them now. They're taking a look at it. And I agree with Aaron on this part, is that, when it lost the first time, and just for the record, it won at town meeting by a landslide, and then got defeated outstandingly at the ballot box the first time. And then when they had a listening session, bring back exactly the same plan. That spells to everyone what we are listening to. We're only listening to yourself because you've had input from all the residents, and you bring back the same exact plan. There were mistakes made, but I was not a part of that. But I want to be a part of the solution and fix it now. All the other things that I've done in town with the select board, that's why we need to get this station done now.
Thank you. And we're going to start the next question with Aaron, and it is related. What is your preferred site for a Fire Station 1?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the question really is, what is the community's preferred site for Fire Station 1? I will say I've talked to a lot of people about this issue, and of all the objections, the site is generally not one of them. It's generally the size, too many bells and whistles, a number of things that people tried to convey to the select board that was not listening. I think that the site it's on now, you could build a smaller station on that site, but I'm eager to hear what the community wants, and I'm eager to hear what the committee comes up with.
Thank you. Michael?
So I've already posted, the first thing I posted online is we came up with that location back in 2017, that's probably where it would be best suited. Now, since then, there were mistakes made. The neighborhood was upset. There was no meetings with the neighborhood prior to any of this action happening. I think that was the biggest mistake. If you want to do a project in town, the first thing you got to do is let the neighbors know and find out their concerns, and then start to address the concerns first, and then come up with a plan. It was done backwards. And for that, we're still paying the price, and we're going to be paying the price, and perhaps even more than what the original offer was, But there should have been changes made. There's no doubt about it. If anyone has really looked at that plan, there should have been a lot of changes made. At least show that you were listening, come back with something smaller, a little less pricey, maybe. And for people who don't know, when we built the police station, the top floor was not finished. It was left for future use. So you put the shell up and the walls up and leave the rest of it alone for future development so that we could stay within Prop 2.5 at the time.
Thank you. Joseph?
I think the correct site is the right site. And I'm going to wait to gather a little more information. As most of you know, we have a feasibility study funding question at the annual town meeting. We're going to capture some additional data on some additional sites, and we're going to step back and take a look and see what these sites have to offer before we cut the cake on any site.
Thank you. The next question will be starting with Michael. What qualities and qualifications would you seek in hiring a new police chief? How will you ensure accountability and transparency in the hiring process?
So I had the pleasure of at least hiring the last fire chief and the pleasure of hiring the last town administrator. And for the record, I didn't vote for either of the last two that we had. I was the voice on the outside. I was outvoted 2-1 in most of the votes. And you can go back and look, because I voted for Pam Dukeman to be our next town administrator and was outvoted 2-1. At the end, I conceded because I think whoever gets in that position needs to feel that everyone is behind them, not just 2 out of 3, and I made that concession. For the police chief, I was not a part. In fact, Jeff Sill was hired just before I became on the select board, so I was not a part of that. But my dad was a Boston cop for 30 years, and so I've learned the good things about police officers and the not so good things about police officers. And it's a lot more than what's on paper. It's a lot more about sitting down with people, finding what their thought process is, how they handle conflict, and how they deal with their other officers. I always say that, you compliment in person, in public, and you scold in private. And that's the best way that I think I want our next police chief to be, is independent and making the right decisions for the right reasons.
Thank you. Joseph?
Thank you. I would suggest this. As far as accountability and transparency, let me suggest it starts with the contract that the select board agrees to, and it starts with setting expectations. And I would be much more careful and deliberate in the expectations of our next police chief. I would also look for a more robust contract with the next police chief. As far as transparency, it starts at the top. What I mean by that is you have a town administrator who is very, very visible, and I would expect the same to take place with our other department heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
I've been involved in search committees twice through my church, St. John's Episcopal Church, and I know that it's very important to have a good search committee. It's important to have subject matter expertise. I am not a subject matter expertise. If I'm a family member is a cop, that doesn't make me a subject matter expert on hiring a police chief. I think that we need, and I do think we now have a good committee in place. I was present in the initial select board meeting when the process was announced that was going to be extremely accelerated and focus on internal candidates, and I immediately raised that issue. I was successful in getting the town to pivot, to slow down, all to solicit and include community input. So I think visibility to the community is important, and I think subject matter expertise is important. I don't have all the answers, but I listen to people who do, and I want to listen to what the residents want, and then I think we will end up with the right candidate.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Aaron. How do you view the roles of the community and the select board in decisions such as pursuing litigation against the land trust and replacing, upgrading public buildings?
I love this question. I am 100% about transparency. I think that I think the first thing is you need people on the select board who you trust. You need people who are not telling you half-truths. You need people who are following the rules and telling you all the facts that you need to know. So I think that starts with respecting the residents. But I also think that your decisions need to be made in the best interest of all residents in town, and that the more public scrutiny you expose your decisions to, the better they will be. So my initial primary objection to the lawsuit was the fact that it seemed to be done behind closed doors. And it seemed to be done in a way that was designed to avoid public scrutiny. And in fact, it did not hold up to public scrutiny. So I think it starts with trusting your leadership and being as transparent as possible in every decision.
Thank you. Michael?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you view the role of the community and the select board in decisions such as pursuing litigation against the land trust and replacing or upgrading public buildings?
Well, let me start with the simple one on the land trust. As a practicing attorney for 38 years, when parties can't come to an agreement or sit down at the table, sometimes it's the only way to go. Most people, lawyers, don't like it. A lot of lawyers won't even try litigation because it's that type of mechanism. But sometimes you have no choice. If people won't sit down at the table with you, and in my case, an insurance company won't offer enough money, I have no objection but to try the case. And in this case, this is a lot bigger than Westwood. This is about who controls that land now. Is it the town or is it the land trust? This could make some very bad law in Massachusetts. And I advise the parties, and I will continue to advise the parties, sit down and talk and work something out. This is not just Westwood. This can affect every town, Dover, every place else. Who controls the land in the land trust? And believe me, a judge would like to hear we've reached a compromise more than anything else. That's what should happen in this case. And believe me, I'll point this out to you. At town meeting, the fire station passed. It went to the ballot, and it lost. So just because it happened at town meeting doesn't mean it's going to get through.
Thank you. Joseph,
Yes, could you repeat that, please?
how do you view the roles of the community and the select board in decisions such as pursuing litigation against the land trust and replacing or upgrading public buildings?
That's a bit of a bifurcated question, but I'll take a shot at it. As far as litigation with the land trust, two very strong parties on opposite sides could not reach an understanding, and there was no choice other than to appeal to the courts for an opinion on that. As far as with the public buildings, I think the select board took the right step. We had an infrastructure study, and we now have our long-range planning committee looking at that to give a more detailed plan down the road. And we've also hired a consultant, thank you, Claire, to help that committee decide on which options to go down and to present to the public.
Thank you. We now will have the last question before we go to closing statements, and we will be starting with Michael. What, if any, role does the select board have in protecting immigrants who live or work in Westwood from unlawful harassment and detention by federal authorities?
Well, I guess that'd really be one for the police chief, because that is not an issue for the select board. The select board can pass just like cities and towns pass, but it doesn't have any effect on the legal aspect of it. That comes from higher up. Personally, as I said, I represent people for workers' comp and Social Security. Legal or illegal, they still get the same representation. That should be up to the court system to decide. Westwood can put its statement out there, but has no legal enforcement within the town. Now, the new police chief, that would probably be a good question to ask him, how he would like to, or she would like to handle that moving forward. So it is entirely, a federal issue. Believe me, in Massachusetts, we're doing the best that we can, but there's no guarantees that whatever we pass, it will be allowed. It's just that simple. I represent, as I said, legal, illegal, it doesn't matter. You will work and you get representation.
Thank you. Joseph?
I'd have to concur with Mike. I think I'd have to leave that up to the police chief on how to pursue that, because he would have the most up-to-date information and what other processes other police departments are using.
Thank you. Aaron?
I'm going to go on a limb here and say I disagree. I think that unless the people are causing a problem in our community and are actually endangering our community, I think that in the case of federal government overreach, I think there is a role for local government to stand up and protect its local citizens. And I think that that's part of being a leader, is taking a stand. And I think that if our community any member of our community is being threatened, then I think our community stands up and defends them. And I think that as a community, we could make that decision, and I would feel very comfortable with that.
Thank you. We'll now go to closing statements in reverse order of the opening statements. So we'll be starting with Michael for his closing statement.
Thank you. So let me just start by saying very quickly, we have 27 boards in town, 10 liaison positions with a total of 235 positions that people could volunteer for in town. So when we say we need new boards and additional boards and more input in town, 235 is an awful lot of people that we have to reach out to. First, let me say that, make no mistake, we need a new middle school, we need an override municipal building. It's much harder to get past than a school. It just is. There is no SBA for municipal buildings, so it will be very tough. But the key issues are the new fire station 1, the middle school. I want you to know in my 9 years, we did them all. We did them all in town. I have the experience. This is a 1-year term. We need to get this fire station to town meeting with a plan that will win not only at town meeting, but will win at the ballot. That is why this is a one-year position and why I'm running. Next year could be a totally different issue, but I'm not looking at next year. I'm looking at right now. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I've done it before, and I'm asking for your vote for the one-year term. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Thank you. I believe that personal interaction are the only way our community is going to come together and solve these issues. And I plan to combine this approach of talking to people along with my new ideas, my new energy to move westward in the right direction. I am not a career politician. I am a tax lawyer with private sector experience. I am also an experienced leader in this community. I know how to bring people together to effect positive change. I led the effort to call the special town meeting. I led the effort to bring in-person select board meetings back, and I led the effort to slow down the accelerated hiring process for our police chief, all to solicit and include community input. We didn't get here overnight. If you don't like where we are right now, then on Tuesday, please vote for Aaron Sibley and vote for something different. I'll put my skills and a private sector mindset to work immediately to solve our problems. Thank you.
Thank you. And Joseph?
I'd like to start by saying the accomplishments that I mentioned earlier. I'd like to thank that we have some great town employees. I love Westwood. Westwood, I believe, is a great town. I think the turnout today speaks to that. I think our town employees are just very, very exceptional. I'd also like to thank my colleagues on the select board, and most of all, I want to thank the people who encouraged me to address some of the issues that I mentioned earlier. In closing, I'd like to thank the league and thank the people who volunteered. I'd like to thank all the candidates. Good for you for your thoughts and ideas today. And thank you all for coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, closing comments. Don't forget to vote on Tuesday, April 28th at the Westwood High School Gymnasium. Polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. And thank you all and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.